ChiraQ. ChiraQ is a family-oriented person. ChiraQ's a Leo. ChiraQ, he's someone who has a story to tell. But overall, ChiraQ's a dancer, choreographer. He's a singer and a songwriter. So how did the concept of recording my EP, Meet ChiraQ, come up? It actually started with the completion of Soaking Wet. After Soaking Wet was completed, Dewan Jamal and Earl Grey invited me on the Abnormal Weekend tour. So it was like, why don't we just do an EP for you? You're putting in the work, you're writing the songs, so let's create you a 5-track EP. Dewan Jamal and I co-executive produced Meet ChiraQ, and it was just a journey from there. We wrote the songs, we got together, we recorded together. He produced my vocals, and it's a beauty. I can't wait for everybody to hear it. All right, so how did I get into recording music? It actually started through dance. I've always had somewhat of an interest in singing, but upon moving to Dallas, I met a local artist, Earl Grey, who saw some of my choreography on social media. He asked me to choreograph a set. I did it. Live performance, I performed with him, danced. Next thing you know, I'm hosting his show, Poetic Aura. Live artists, live poets, just an overall different experience. We developed a relationship, we developed a friendship to where I would go to the studio with him to actually see what comes into putting together these shows, and it sparked something in me. It was just like, ChiraQ, you can do that. You can sing. Hosting those shows, I had to present some type of talent to show that I'm in the same league as y'all. I'm up here, I get it, I see it, I'm with you, and I started singing, and that's where my journey started. Alright, so how did Soaking Wet come about? Soaking Wet actually came about through a challenge. So you'll hear me speak a lot about Earl Grey, Dewan Jamal, because they have been behind my back 100% through this journey. But the challenge was from Dewan Jamal to write a song about hanging out with your homies, but it has to be at the pool. And at the time it was like, I don't know. But I took the challenge. I took it home. I didn't know what perspective I was going to go. I decided I was going to write the song for Earl Grey. Laid down the hook, reached out to Dewan Jamal, said, what do you think? He said, Antoine, no. ChiraQ, no. This song is for you. And I was like, okay. And what ways can I boost myself as an artist and to use other local artists and good talent? So I said, well, how about I asked Earl Grey to feature on it? And we both was excited. That's a good idea. And I thought again, well, Dewan Jamal, why don't you feature on it as well? And it just blew off from there. We all started writing our verses. Dewan Jamal and I on phone calls every day talking about what we're going to do. So happened Earl Grey happened to be in town that weekend. And we decided to take it to the studio. So the process for creating On Your Knees, it actually came about when I was being invited to the tour. I was pressured, not even pressured, but pushed to write more music, to write another song. And I'm hanging with Dewan Jamal, and he's like, well, you know what? I do have a song called Knees, and I laid down the hook, but I'm not gonna do nothing with it. So if you want it, you can have it, So I was like, okay, let me do something with that. Let me do something with it. And I took it, I wrote to it, I recorded it, I referenced it. I think within the next day or two, I was in the studio again, just recording that. And in the process, mind you, it was originally called Knees, but the way I saw the song, the way I took the song, I was like, it has to be called On Your Knees. And y'all just have to feel that when you hear it. Alright, so the inspiration for I'm Gonna Love Me actually came from some relationship issues, to be honest. So I'm hanging out with Earl Grey one day, and I'm telling him about the issues I'm having, and he said, don't talk to me about it. Let's let's write about it. You know. So he immediately started playing beats, and mind you, I've never written a song before, so he just pen on paper, just a word a second, and I read it, and I'm like, wait, you talking about me? This is me. This is easy. Okay, well, let me get my 2 cents in. It was originally supposed to be a duet for him and I, but as I started to develop as an artist, as I started to get more serious, we started to develop I'm Gonna Love Me with me, and it was actually given to me. So that's my baby. I probably spent the most time in the studio on I'm Gonna Love Me, from the first version being laid down to the third version where I thought it was gonna be right, but then I still had to add the oohs and ahs. I can't say nothing more than that's my baby. I love that song, that journey. What made me bring the vibe of Juke to Meet ChiraQ? So Juke actually came from just a table sitting. Dewan Jamal and I, we were sitting one day, going over the songs that I do have, determining sequencing for my EP. We determined I was gonna have 5 songs. I only had 5, and he said, "You need a banger. We need a banger." And I was so determined that we started playing beats right away, right away. Actually, the first beat that we played was the beat that we actually ended up going with. We wanted to give a few options, but we circled back. And once we circled back, you know, Dewan Jamal said, "Try it. Just give me what you got." And my family, we have a phrase where we play with each other. We say, "If you was any bigger, you would be my bigger nigga." So I started vibing to the verse. You know, I incorporated that in the hook, like if he was bigger. So, you know, and he said, "That's Chicago. Chicago. Talk about Chicago. Talk about home. You know, tell your viewers about your experiences like you told me." And I did. I posted on where I'm from, you know, how those parties went. I remember being back home, you know, we throwing the juke parties in the basement, hosting them, throwing them, going to different, you know, cities. So it was a way for me to bring Chicago and those experiences to my music. So it was pretty cool. All right, what made me add the element of affirmation of Meet ChiraQ? So I can't really talk about affirmation without talking about Moving On. Moving On was actually the first song that I had ever written, the first song that I had ever recorded, but it was written out of a place of hurt, you know, a past experience that I didn't see fitting into the Meet ChiraQ journey. So I had to re-record it anyway, and I was like, okay, what else can I do? Mind you, the night before, Dewan Jamal and I, we went over to my parents' house, and the conversation of love language came up. You know, so we were talking about love language with my parents. The next day, Dewan Jamal said, "Well, what is your love language?" And I didn't know at the time, but I started talking about the things that makes me happy within a relationship. The communicating, the letting me know, you know, how much you care about me, and me doing the same to you. So he looked at me and said, "Words of affirmation. That's your love language. That's your next song. It's going to be called Affirmation." You know, so immediately we went inside, we started playing beats, and we tackled it together, lyrically, throwing words back to back, you know, phrases in, phrases out. It was an intricate, a great session, you know, to be able to combine talented minds and come up with something so beautiful like Affirmation, and it turned out to be amazing.
You glowing.